So there I was yesterday talking about Celtic's transfer shopping list for the 2025-26 season. Little did I think that literally the next day we'd be talking about transfer rumours already. That's right, it's already time for it. Celtic transfer talk is here, and let a long summer begin of rumours coming from left, right and centre. Some that we'll have to rubbish, some that might end up presenting us Celtic players for next season. So, stay with me. We're here all summer. It's time for Celtic transfer talk. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. We are less than 400 subs away from 50,000 subscribers. As I mentioned in my intro yesterday and the day prior, we done our two-part series previewing a big summer window for Celtic. We spoke about who will come into the club and who potentially should leave the club. If you haven't seen those videos, I will point you in that direction. But today, we're talking about transfer rumours because Celtic are already being linked with players. Some reports even suggesting we've already had bids rejected for players. So, I'm getting prepared for this. It's my favourite time of the year. This is where I make my money. I don't want to keep us here all day. I just want to get into the thick of it, you could say. Not the KSI song. Not that. Nobody needs that. I just want to get tore in. So here we are. We have arrived at Celtic Transfer Talk for the 25-26 campaign, and we start with a report coming from Japan which suggests that Celtic are a side interested in PSG target Keita Kusugi. The headlines suggest that the strong-hearted defender who has played in Sweden and a member of the under-20 Japanese national team is also of interest to Celtic. Now that was a report that came out from Sponichi Annex in Japan, of course, with our strong links to Japanese players over the last few years. There is very much credibility in this story. They opened the article by saying that earlier in the day that PSG were revealed to be a club that were looking at the potential signing of Keita Kusugi. Apparently they want to acquire him from Swedish First Division side Djurgårdens, and according to multiple sources they've already been in contact behind the scenes. Some media outlets have reported that the probability of acquiring him is around the 40% mark. Now you might be thinking, Ryan, what has this got to do with Celtic? We're talking about PSG, Champions League finalists, trying to sign somebody here. Well, we were name dropped in the same article because if you go down a little bit deeper, it does say that Kusugi has been long aiming to transfer to a big club and to get to the Champions League. More importantly, say winning the Champions League. Multiple clubs, including Celtic and Serie A powerhouse Atalanta, have also shown interest in him, leading to a fierce battle for him. Attention is focused on the decision of the young hopeful who could have been selected for the first time for the national team for next month's World Cup qualifiers. Alas, I don't believe he has been selected, but Celtic have been name dropped in the article. I was really excited when I seen Celtic's name linked with Keita Kusugi last night. I was familiar with him through a few Twitter threads that had passed in recent months, and knowing that we needed another left back to come into the club, I thought him being a younger guy with room to develop, that could have been a good option for Celtic. However, when I started reading the articles that PSG and Atalanta are two of the sides looking at him, and with PSG being Ligue 1 winners and Champions League finalists, potentially Champions League winner-elects, I suddenly felt a lot more down about it because it feels incredibly unlikely that Celtic are a side who would win this sort of transfer battle. I guess first and foremost you've got to ask the question, how much truth will be in this story? Well, with our Japanese links and with how well the careers of Daisen Maeda, Kyogo Furuhashi and Ryo Hatate have gone at Celtic, I'd assume that it's an attractive place for Japanese players to come at the minute, and with him only playing in Sweden right now rather than halfway across the globe or over in the Far East, it's a much easier move. I just don't fancy our chances up against the likes of PSG, especially if reporters in Japan are saying that there's a 40% chance that he could head there. He's played 29 times for Djurgården this season, including 4 goals, 2 in the Conference League, in fact, where he has been an ever-present in that Djurgården side. In fact, he played against Chelsea, if you remember their incredibly successful run in the Conference League this season. It is catching the eyes of a few of their players, and hence the reason why the likes of PSG will be interested. It's an incredibly believable story, no matter how you look at it. With the run that they went on Europe, he was a very important part of that. And no wonder Celtic will be looking at him as well. I would love us to be confident and optimistic about trying to make a transfer like this happen. And I'm not saying that it's impossible. I would just say that you probably need to be a little bit realistic about things. I would keep an eye on it and see where it goes in the next few days or weeks. But I wouldn't fully expect him to come to Celtic. One of the big positives about him, if he was to choose Celtic, is I don't think he would come in at a huge fee. The record sale is for Lucas Bergvall to Tottenham for around £8.5 million, which means this wouldn't be an incredibly expensive transfer. I don't imagine they would look to break the record with him either. Bergvall was a very talented attacking playmaker, one of the best prospects to come out of Sweden in recent years. I don't think they would be looking to break that, so maybe something in the £5 million range will be his price tag. It's just whether or not Celtic can persuade him to come here if we are truly watching him. So we'll wait and see. I would just be patient with this one, because I don't know if it'll amount to much. And while we're on the topic, we may as well cover this one very, very quickly. It's one that I am sceptical about. However, we've also been linked with Djurgården's winger, Oscar Fallenius. The 23-year-old winger has been linked with Celtic this morning, if reports in Sweden are to be believed. However, this is one of these ones that I want to preface with saying I'm very sceptical, because it's the typical Celtic and Rangers are both interested, and typically when Celtic and Rangers are both interested, it amounts to nothing. It always feels like it's an agent drumming up interest. I've done this long enough now to understand that. And every year when this kind of story comes up, which it does, every window I should say, it's not just every year, it happens in January, it happens in summer, there's always some player, particularly attacking players, who get linked with both clubs, I think, in the hope that one will act and maybe push your transfer through. Don't get me wrong, there's been times in the past where they've come true, the likes of Luis Palma in recent memory, who was linked with Rangers and then linked to Celtic. We ended up signing him. But 9 times out of 10, I feel like it's nonsense. However, on that note, there is a publication, I believe Football Direct, in Sweden, suggesting that there is some heat around the name of Oscar Fallenius. The 23-year-old winger has impressed this season, however, currently injured, was very, very good before that, and now is in the sights of 2 big players. Football Direct are understanding that both Celtic and Rangers are looking at the player. The interest has been so great that representatives from both clubs have seen him in action at the Djurgårdens arena for several matches, but no bid has been presented yet. Both clubs are considering it if the price is right. It's not clear what Djurgårdens is asking for, but he was taken from Danish Brøndby in February 2023. He only cost at the time 2 million kroner. Fallenius has scored a total of 7 goals and 9 assists in 78 appearances for Djurgården. He has a contract with the club until 2026. So this is one of these players who has a contract that's running out. Now looks as though he's trying to force a move. I don't know. I'm just putting two and two together to say this one might be a bit of nonsense, but it's interesting that we're getting linked with 2 players from Djurgårdens over the past 24 hours. I think that the left back has a lot more believability in it than the winger, but just wait and see where it goes. And talking about defenders, an exclusive from Stephen McGowan last night suggests that Celtic have a centre-back target for this transfer window, and some publications over abroad are even claiming that Celtic have already had a bid rejected for a young centre-half. That centre-half being Veljko Milosavljevic from Red Star Belgrade, Crvena Zvezda over in the Serbian Premier Division. This article came out last night from Stephen McGowan saying that Celtic have been watching a sought-after transfer target valued at £9 million. In that article, in the top line of it, it was said that Celtic are interested in signing the Red Star Belgrade teenage defender Veljko Milosavljevic, and it's not the first time we've spoke about him in this channel. So for all the exclusives and such flying about last night, I'm not saying that I broke any exclusives, but we did talk about him 3 weeks ago on the channel. There was a live stream and we spoke about reports that were coming out of Serbia that suggested Celtic were in for the youngster. Well, those reports are coming through again, and with the very reliable Stephen McGowan now reporting it, it looks as though there might be a lot of credibility in this. a publication in Serbia, Meridian Sport, also have came out in the past couple of days to suggest that Celtic have had an initial bid rejected with an asking price of £8.4 million. I don't know what Celtic would have bid in the first place, but apparently we've had ours rejected, and £8.4 million is what they're looking for, a €10 million price tag for a 17-year-old centre-half. It's a huge amount of money, and something I'm not too sure Celtic would trigger when there's so much uncertainty around a player of that age. Crvena Zvezda are in a very commanding position right now. They understand there is interest out there and teams ready to battle for the signature. Celtic apparently with a bid already rejected. However, Eintracht Frankfurt and Germany have been linked. Everton have been linked, and also PSG once again have apparently scouted the youngster. They will be in no rush to sell him anywhere, and if they know that these big dogs, big teams are looking at scouting him and looking at potential bids, they'll hold out and they'll make sure that they get the money they want for their wonder kids. They've been a host of many a young centre-half sensation before over there in Serbia. They know what they're doing, and they will try and get every penny they can out of any side, whether that's Celtic or Frankfurt or PSG. So this is one that I think, once again, as McGowan's reported on, it has a lot of credibility in it, but one that I don't see Celtic pursuing with if the asking price is so high. It's been a big breakout season for the youngster in Serbia this season. He got into the first team and is now a regular over the past campaign, including being on the bench in some Champions League games. He's played in big derbies against Partizan and is looking very, very good. Let's just leave it like that. Towering 6'3" player. The exact makeup of the centre-half you would like to see at Celtic. I think that this would be future-proofing to the max if we were to try and go out and sign him. But as Stephen McGowan has alluded to in his article, I just don't think Celtic are going to be willing to pay that, and I don't think they should. There is no certainty around a 17-year-old playing in Serbia, and if it's one that gets away and goes on to be one of the best centre-halves in the world, very good. But Celtic aren't going to go and spend, you know, €10 million on a 17-year-old. That's just not the kind of investment the club are going to make. So until they turn around and make sacrifices in the money they're looking for, I think this is one that we'll probably, just like the first player we've spoke about today, maybe need to put to the back of our mind. But it's very early in the window. If the options dry up and they realise that there's a chance to make money, they might lower that asking price. I just think this is one that Celtic will need to move on from just now, even if there is a lot of believability in it. So, yeah, keep an eye out for his name in future. Don't forget the very difficult name to say, Jelko Milisavljevic. It's easy to say, surely. Finally today, a report has came out from Turkey suggesting that Fenerbahce are interested in Dyson Maeda. In fact, it was quite a laugh to read this morning, because if you go and read the article, it came out from an outlet called Takvim in Turkey, who have said that the current market value of the player is €11 million. And apparently Jose Mourinho really wants him at Fenerbahce. I'm going to go and give this story the big Ryan 118 stamp of shite approval, because there is more chance of Celtic signing me up to be the new centre forward this summer than there is of selling Dyson Maeda for €11 million. That would be about £9 million. Who's wrote this article? Why did they bother? What is the point? If you see this, rubbish it. I just thought I'd bring it up. Right, we had a lot to cover on day one of the transfer window here on our channel. I'll be here all summer to talk about all the links, all the players, what ones I think there's a chance of and what ones I think are rubbish. So just bear with me, stay with me, and we'll make sense of it all. If you've enjoyed, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time.